We are just about to start. Can we get just everybody seated? Those that can sit. We are just about to start. Let me then take this opportunity and hand over to the Speaker of the Council.
I'm Councillor Makhanda, the Speaker of Makhanda Municipality. I will be the Program Director. I will be the Chairperson of this session. In front of you, I want to believe you do have a proposed agenda for this stakeholder meeting. But before we start, let me invite our Bishop, Sombao, just to give us a prayer, just to connect with the mighty. I will call you, Bishop, to come, and then after that we'll open the session. Can I hand it over to you, Bishop? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lord, for bringing us together in your name. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Sifundisile Yesu ukuba konke sinoyenza ngaphandle kwakho. Yiza umdali wethu. Yiza umhlanguli nomsindisi wethu. Yiza moya ongcwele. Usichukumise sonke ngabanye ngabanye. Lord, we give you thanks that you have brought our Honorable Minister of Justice, Ronald Lamola, safely to Makhanda. Thank you for that safe travel, that he arrived in our midst. Lord, you have heard the cries of the people of Makhanda and Makhanda Municipality. Thank you for this quality time that you are giving us with the Honorable Minister. Mhlawumbe kwakho ke Thixo wethu uthathile. Siyakumema ube phakathi kwethu. God of creation and humanity. We are here in your name. We are commending this meeting to you, so that whatever we discuss will do may be to your honor and glory for the betterment of the life of this city, Makhanda and Makhanda itself. Sisikelele ke ba usunqabisa ukuze sibe ngabathetheleli babo bangena kusithethela. Lord, you have created all of us in your image. Hear our voices and the voice of those who cannot speak for them in this city. Thank you now, you are amongst us. Lead us, guide us, Holy Spirit, into all truth. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you very much, Bishop. Honorable Minister, Honorable Executive Mayor of Makhanda, Mombiani Savafa, Honorable Mayor of the District, Tatu Dion Force, the Speaker of the District, present here, Nomhlekaka, including the Honorable Member that are present here of the legislature, Utatulwan, the former mayor, mayoral committee members, councillors that are present here, High Court Action team, all the stakeholders that are present here, different departments that are present here. Greetings to all of you in this wonderful day. I call it a wonderful day because it is indeed for the community of the city. It is a wonderful day. This day will be remembered, should be put permanently in the calendar of this city. With those words, I'm trying to invite the executive mayor of the city just to welcome everybody who's currently present here. And our program is not that big. It's a straightforward program. I'll outline as we move forward. Over to you, Honorable Mayor.
With our program director today, the Honorable Minister of Justice, Honorable Ronald Lamola, the esteemed entourage from your office, the Speaker of the Makhanda Municipal Council, the Executive Mayor of Sarabadman District Municipality, the Speaker of Sarabadman District Municipality, the Member of the Provincial Legislature, Honorable Vumile Rwana, Councillors of Makhanda Council, Municipal Council, members of the Executive, spokesperson of the Makhanda High Court Action Committee, Campaign Committee, Prof. Mabizela, and the committee at large, the representatives from Legal Fraternity, representatives from Ministers Fraternity, representatives from the business sector, representatives from civil society, our friends from all media houses, the people from all walks of life, all signatories to the unfolding just cause that we embarked on. And last but not least, the dedicated and committed friends, the Makhanda High Court Action Campaign, and the community at large. Honorable Minister, your presence here in our city, Makhanda, is highly appreciated. On behalf of the entire community of Makhanda, let me express our sincere word of gratitude. I know you squeezed this visit to Makhanda in your hectic schedule, and that we appreciate. We as Makhanda local municipality often characterize our local economy as a reflection We characterize it as a reflection of South African economy. Our local economy is an economy that has over 90% of people employed are in the tertiary sector, education institutions, government departments, judiciary, and retail sector. The Makhanda local municipality is the second biggest municipality in the district with an economic contribution of more than 27% to the gross value added. Honorable Minister, this is an indicator that our economy is an important backbone of the district and, by extension, the province, the provincial economy. Makhanda is one of the oldest cities in South Africa. It is a city full of a rich history, heritage, and a strong education sector. Our city is known for its historic prominence in our judiciary, its historic prominence in education, and its historic prominence of an active, vibrant civil society. Honorable Minister, our community of Makhanda remains a community that appreciates a legitimate and transparent judicial program of the National Democratic Government. The ratification process of the judiciary remains an effort towards social transformation and the transformation of the judiciary. We interpret access to justice as access to means of economic justice, access to social security justice, justice to livelihood of the people of Makhanda and of Eastern Cape. Honorable Minister, the unemployment rate in Makhanda is sitting at about 45%. Such a high unemployment rate creates a social instability and hyper-contestation of government opportunities. The move of the seat of the judge, president, will create unprecedented levels of social unrest and a higher unemployment. There has been a plethora of studies that have been done on what would happen to Makhanda if the seat of the High Court were to be removed from Makhanda, It is an open secret that one of the biggest economic drivers of the local economy is the High Court. The law firms and the multiplier effects beneficiaries of the existence of the High Court, such as the hospitality and retail sector. Given what I have said, Honourable Minister, we are privileged to have a very well organized and active citizenry. Our stakeholders, as led by the committee that is led by the Vice Chancellor, Prof. Mabizela, that seeks to retain our local economic contributors, which includes judiciary. Furthermore, Honourable Minister, the 6-side military base is the second largest military base in South Africa, after the Tempe military base that is in Bloemfontein. Such important strategic institution has been adamant to stay here because of what the city has become to resemble a great place to be. Moreover, the jurisdiction of the Makhanda High Court, which has a seat, covers the entire Eastern Cape. The High Court is strategically located in a city of excellence, intellectual and professional factory, therefore making the Eastern Cape Judicial Services prominent for its unquestionable jurisprudence. On key service delivery issues, Makhanda local municipality has just been introduced to the Office of the Premier's Small Town Revitalization Program. The Council has just passed a resolution on the municipality being assisted by the Office of the Premier on the infrastructure backlog. So as an investment to retention of the High Court Judge President seat and to further attraction of investments and students into our friendly population. Honourable Minister, in short, allow me to confirm to you that the stakeholders that are gathered here today and the community of Makhanda are 100% behind Makhanda High Court Action Campaign. I cannot thank you enough for giving us an audience to physically express our views on the matter of the relocation of the seat of the Makhanda High Court from Makhanda to Bishop. Thank you everyone for coming to this important session to physically express our views as Makhanda stakeholders with the Honourable Minister. I welcome all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Executive Mayor. With a warm welcoming on this gathering. Colleagues, just once more to outline how the program is going to lead us for this session. The next speaker that is going to come is the Honourable Minister of Justice. But I just want to give you rules of this meeting, because I felt it's quite important. We understand that this is a stakeholders meeting. We've got different constituencies that will represent constituencies. Now, after the Honourable Minister's speech, I will have one of the officials who's going to move around just to give me the name of those who will want to come and speak on the podium. And I will give them, if there are not many, I'll give them 10 minutes. I'm just preparing you because the minister is coming. And the rules are that you allow the speaker to present. When we finish, after the minister, I will take hands for any input, contributions after the input of the Honourable Minister. So this is how we are going to operate in this meeting. We are going to run this meeting in that manner. Allow me, ladies and gentlemen, honourable members, to invite the Honourable Minister of Justice and to come on the podium and address us. Can we give him a round of applause?
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. I thought I would not receive a round of applause because this is the last person who will receive it. But thank you very much for dealing with this matter. Firstly is that I'm not going to be long because I think I will want to listen more on the issues that will come. Secondly is that the rationalization process that the department is embarked upon started with the magisterial districts across the country. And that phase of the magisterial district has now been completed. The magisterial district was also aimed to rationalize the magisterial districts to be in line with the local seats of the local municipalities across the country. In certain areas it was not practical, it was not possible, but where it was practical as possible, we rationalize it to that level. And the key underpinning pillar of the rationalization project is access to justice. To enable people to have access to the courts near where they stay, which also affects the cost of access to justice. So that was the first phase. It was also not an easy one. There were challenges which we had to confront and engage with the various stakeholders as and when they arise. This is the second phase, and this emanates from the reality of how our jurisdictions of the courts have been demarcated. And the origins of this predates the Constitution. Prior to 1994, the territories of the present-day South Africa was divided into different areas. There were defined areas of South Africa, the self-governing territories, and the so-called TPVC states. The territory of South Africa was divided into 4 provinces, which are well known to you. And we then appointed a committee chaired by the former Chief Justice Msenele to help us with the rationalization of the High Court. This was not done since 1994. The former Deputy Chief Justice gave us an interim report, which is informed by the Constitution of the Republic, how we need to deal with the rationalization, because we have not done it since 1994. And there have been changes since 1994 in terms of the population, in terms of the various impacts to the courts that now needs to be considered by this government, including the reality that the number of judges that we now have are no longer enough for the populations and the litigants in all the courts across the country, which impacts access to justice. There's also issues of infrastructure, which also impact access to justice. But there's also the reality that people are not able in our high courts to litigate closer to where they are, despite the fact that we've now proclaimed provincial divisions. And this, for those who have the report, I've seen that there are a number of stakeholders here in Makhanda who have made inputs. They have seen, they've gone through the report. You will see that the report goes to in kilometers, the distance, the population, the number of stakeholders in the area, and all that. It goes into very detail. So the interim report is aimed to give us some parameters of engagements and of a decision that we need to take when we get the final report. So we have been studying this interim report. We are waiting the final report. I've been advised that it will be coming very soon, maybe before the end of August or September, which will now enable us to then make a decision with regards to all the provincial divisions. I want to just demonstrate 1 or 2 areas where we have got challenges as a Department of Justice with regards to access. And I'd like to give an example with one of the easiest ones, which is Hammanskraal in Gauteng. So Hammanskraal in Gauteng under the provincial government demarcation is in Gauteng. But with the current provincial demarcation of the High Courts, Hammanskraal is in the northwest, following the old apartheid TBVC state demarcation time, which we have not been able to dismantle since after the democratic breakthrough. So this report deals with such kind of issues. How do we ensure access to people wherever they are, closer to where they are? Because a person in Hammanskraal can't live Hammanskraal leaving the Pretoria High Court to Rustenburg or to Mahikeng. Then here in Makhanda or in the Eastern Cape, there is also such misalignment in many parts of the province. And the easiest one is East London. In terms of the current demarcation, because East London and Makhanda, formerly Grahamstown, was under what was called the former South Africa. The people in East London are still demarcated to come and litigate here in Makhanda, leaving Bishop next to them. So all those issues are issues that we have to deal with, to confront as a society. And that is what the report is helping us to do. So, one of the issues that has been raised that we are dealing with, I'm not going to dwell into most of the recommendations because I am of the view that I consider them read by themselves. But one of the issues that has crippled in and which has become a point of contention, which I have heard for the first time, is the fact that the recommendations of the interim report is that we must move physically the provincial seat of the Eastern Cape Provincial Division to Bishop. I'm happy that with the engagements I've had this morning with the various stakeholders in the area, including the Vice Chancellor of Rhodes University, Bishop Ostandazel Manje, and many other stakeholders of the area, it does seem like there is now clarity that we are not moving the court from Makhanda. The court will remain here. The only thing before you clap hands, you need to understand the point. So there is clarity that we are not moving the court. What the recommendation is making, that is the reason why I'm saying before you clap hands. The recommendation is making a recommendation for us to move the provincial seat. And the provincial seat is not the whole court. It's just the head office of the court, which is the judge president, the bishop. That is what that's why I was saying you must not clap hands before you understand this. So that is what the interim report is saying. It is recommending to me to move this seat, and the seat relates to the judge president to bishop, or with one judge, but not the whole court. The court will still remain here in Makhanda. It will continue as a local seat. That is the recommendation. So why are we here? We are here to have the discussion with yourselves because there have been submissions made by the Makhanda High Court Action Committee. They've made various points why the provincial seat must not be moved. The impact to the economy, various social issues that they've raised, which I won't raise. I think they will be better placed to deal with that. But we have all their submissions in detailed form. There is also a submission made by the Makhanda Resident Association, almost raising the same points as raised by the Makhanda Action Committee. There is also submissions made by the Makhanda local municipality, also agreeing with the action committee, raising similar points, detailing why they are of the view that we must not move the provincial seat, which we need to always distinguish that the court will still the discussion is about the provincial seat. And I'm happy that this morning the Vice Chancellor of Roads was able to succinctly distinguish these two issues. There was also submission made by the Makhanda Business Forum, the GPS Mutual Bank. I don't know this one. I'm happy. It's a bank. Yeah, they say it's not GPS. But even if it was GPS and there was also submission by Rhodes University, making also a detailed submission why they are of the view that we should not move this court here. Submission made by the Jaha and Jordan, Lord, I think it's a law firm. Submission by the Eastern Cape Society of Advocates. I think these ones, they disagree with you. Their view is that we should move to Bishop. Then, oh no, they are saying it should remain here. It's the Eastern But there's also submissions by many other organizations which are stating the same. There is a submission to move of the seat from the Makhanda to Bishop. This is the Legal Practice Council of the Eastern Cape. The submission by the Black Lawyers Association, by Nadal, the Bishop Society of Advocates, the Benches Advocates. So there is also a lot of submissions saying we must move to Bishop. So from our perspective, there is no doubt that the recommendations to relocate the main seat from Makhanda to Bishop has a divided opinion in the Eastern Cape. The rationalization process is very important for our country, and whatever decision that I finally make must be centered around the imperative of access to justice for all the citizens of the Eastern Cape and for the country. And we all recognize that access to justice is a fundamental constitutional right without which the rights guaranteed in the Constitution will be annulled. It is against this background that we are here today to have this discussion with yourself, because at the end, when the final report comes from the Rationalization Committee, the department must make a decision whether the court, this provincial seat, and not the court, I must emphasize, must move to Bishop or not. It is an important decision because we will not only be making it in relation to whether we move it, it will deal with the whole issue of rationalization. Access for the entire province of the Eastern Cape, access for the entire province of the Western Cape, for the entire province of Gauteng, is a decision we have to make countrywide to enable access to the courts. But we cannot run away from the fact that there will be submissions in various areas that wants to influence the decision. And it's for that reason that the Rationalization Committee also received input. And I must also state that we did not have this type of meetings all over the country. This is the first of its kind because of the type of emotions, the type of inputs, the type of concrete views divergence that have come out with regard to the moving of the provincial seat here to Bishop. So that's why we're having this. Is the first of its kind. I won't say we will not have another one, but at this stage there is no any other one planned anywhere in the country. So we are here to engage with the stakeholders to hear your views before we make the final decision.
establish the ground rules. We are not going to allow people to speak when there's a person speaking. Also, I just want to appeal that in case we switch our phone on vibrant or silent, so that the recordings can be clear. Now, what we are going to do, there are stakeholders who have indicated to me that they will want to come and make a presentation. The first stakeholder that will come and break the ice will be led by the Prof, Dr. Mabizela. And then he will be followed by the business sector or Makhanda sector of unity. And after that, there will be also the Dr. Ngesi. I didn't see Dr. Ngesi here. Oh, nice. And they will be followed by Dr. Ngesi. I think we are not limiting anyone not to speak. Let me put that outline so that you understand that. But these stakeholders are going to start. And then after that, if there's any stakeholder who wishes to indicate to come and make an input, will allow. But you've got only 10 minutes. You don't have large enough time. Let me say you don't have enough time. You've got only 10 minutes in terms of the minutes. So now, already I've noted this one that I'm going to speak. If I did not note you, please indicate so that I can have an understanding in terms of how many people that are going to speak here. Because it is going to also determine how I allocate time for you to speak here. So what I will do, I will allow the Prof to come, but also those who want to actually also speak after them, I will then raise hands, I will allow you to raise hands, then I note those hands.
Thank you very much, Program Director. Honorable Minister, thank you very much for honoring us by coming to Makhanda, and I dare say that this is the only part of the country where you will have to go and engage, because it is only in respect of the recommendations pertaining to the Eastern Cape Division of the High Court that there are significant concerns. We are grateful because you have had time to come to Makhanda to understand the city, understand its community. You have had an opportunity to go to the High Court. You have been taken around and seen the facilities, excellent facilities that are there. And for the longest period of time, the judiciary in Eastern Cape has contributed significantly to the jurisprudence of this country. So we really appreciate that. But the most important thing that we wish you could take away from this engagement is the importance of the High Court in the social, economic, and intellectual life of this city. Unlike the other parts of the country, where a High Court is just another service, here in Makhanda, the High Court is integrated. It is one of the key pillars of this community, particularly on the economic front. The Honorable Mayor has already mentioned that. Honorable Minister, relocating the seat of the High Court is not just about asking the Judge President and one or two judges to move to Bishop. It's much more fundamental. There are associated services that go with that, which will have to relocate. And so we cannot minimize the impact of locating the seat of the High Court. I do want to underline the point that the Honourable Minister made. It's not about shutting down the High Court in Makhanda. It's about relocating the seat of the provincial court to Bishop. And we are firmly of the view, and we have made our case, that the seat of the High Court should remain in Makhanda. And that is very important, and it also speaks to access to justice. We have indicated that this issue has been debated a number of times, 4 or 5 times. And each time the recommendation has been that the seat should remain in Makhanda. Perhaps the most important aspect that we can draw on is the work that was put forward by Judge Arthur Chaskalson. And again, I agree with you, Minister. We must redraw the boundaries of the courts and not retain the apartheid boundaries. And in fact, there is a map which we are happy to share with you and the community on how the boundaries of the courts can be demarcated so as to ensure access to justice and at the same time retain the seat of the High Court in Makhanda. I wonder if we can do that. Can we project the map so that, and I agree with the Minister, it would not make sense for anyone who is in Islanda to go past Bishop to come to Makhanda. And that is precisely what that map does. It clearly demarcates the boundaries that will ensure viability of all the different courts within the province and ensure access to justice. Of course, the relocation of the seat of the High Court will lead to the devastation of Makhanda. We have done the economic impact report. It indicates a significant number of jobs, more than 5,000 jobs, direct jobs will be lost. And thousands of jobs in associated services will be lost. And the economy of this country, of this town, will be devastated. And we have made that case, and the Minister has looked at the report, and we are concerned about that in the context of high unemployment in the city. The municipality will lose revenue in terms of rates, and it will be very difficult to generate new jobs. So that is an important aspect. Can we show the map to the Minister on how the jurisdictional boundaries can be reconfigured while retaining the seat of the High Court in Makhanda to ensure access to justice, but even more important, access to justice will be achieved if we make sure that the seat of the High Court has concurrent powers with the other courts in the province. So that for us is important, that we do not want to create a situation where more people will be unemployed in this town, where the economy of this town will be destroyed, where the municipality will not be able to fulfill its responsibilities, where the professionals, lawyers, advocates, and all of them who can, by the way, who might be inconvenienced but they can move. It is the ordinary residents of this town who will not be able to move and look for jobs elsewhere. So we appeal to the Minister. We understand that what we have at the moment is just an interim report. But as you consider that interim report, we plead with you that a one-size-fits-all will not work. certainly not for Makhanda. And that context matters. Understanding the context of Makhanda is very important, and the integral role that the High Court and the seat play in the life, in the economy, and in every aspect of Makhanda. And can you take us to the map so that the minister can see how the boundaries can be redrawn? We are firmly of the view that access to justice is critical. But access to justice does not mean imposing a life of hardship unnecessarily. Do you want to take us through that?
I will give the quickest presentation I can because I know we've only got 10 minutes for Professor Makizela. This is the present jurisdiction of the Eastern Cape Division. So you have Port Elizabeth there, Makhanda is there, and you have Bishu and the Transkei Division. So that's the present position as we have it. As it stands now, the seat of the court is the seat for the whole province, and it has what we call concurrent jurisdiction, which means that somebody living in PE or in Transkei or in the Old Ciskei can come to Makhanda to deal with a matter. So any person in the province can go to Makhanda, and that is the issue of concurrency. So Judge Chaskelson proposed the following, which the Makhanda High Court Action Committee believe is the fairest way of dealing with everything, and the next map will be his proposal. So this is Judge Chaskelson, and what Judge Chaskelson did was to meet stakeholders and all the judge presidents and all the judges of the Eastern Cape, and this was his proposal, which was tabled with the Moseneke Commission of Inquiry. So Judge Chaskelson suggested, and his committee, that Bishu be increased to include what they call the corridor. So it's London right through up there to Queenstown, and that the Transkei Division be increased to go as high as that area, which is Elliot Maclear, those northern areas, so that if you lived in, say, East London, you didn't have to go all the way to Grahamstown, you can go to Bishu. But that the seat be retained in Makhanda, with concurrent jurisdiction over the whole area. Which means that if you now live in the larger areas there, you can go to Makhanda, or you can go to Bishu, if you're in the Bishu area, or you can go to Umtata for the old Transkei area. So that was his proposal. With that proposal, there will be much less impact on Makhanda, it will not be devastating, whereas the Moseneke Commission of Inquiry's proposal, interim report, is that everything gets realigned. This is Moseneke Commission of Inquiry. They suggest that the whole area there goes to Bishu, Transkei, Port Elizabeth. What remains in this area are a few farmlands and a few little towns, no cities, no metropoles, and the seat moves to Bishu. The moment that happens, it is estimated that this High Court that we have will close within 5 years. There won't be enough work for 2 judges. And this has been detailed and explained and set out in facts and figures.
Thank you, Mr. Brody. Just to conclude, Honourable Minister, weighed against the devastation in social, economic, and human life that will almost certainly result were the seat to be relocated from Makhanda to Bishu, it seems logical that the seat of the Eastern Cape Division of the High Court be retained in Makhanda. That is the most judicious thing to do under the circumstances. The location of the seat of the High Court from Makhanda to Bishu, or any significant reduction in the territorial jurisdiction of the High Court, will be disastrous to the already economically distressed citizenry of Makhanda, to our university and to our schools. We believe that access to justice and the cause of justice as a whole can be attained without creating or exacerbating the socio-economic hardships of the struggling Makhanda community, or inflicting such a devastation on the livelihoods of the most vulnerable and disadvantaged residents of Makhanda, as will almost certainly result from the relocation of the seat of the High Court from Makhanda to Bishu. That is our submission. One, that we retain the seat of the High Court in Makhanda. Two, that the seat of the High Court should enjoy concurrent jurisdictional powers. I think.
Yeah, maybe before Prof, you can conclude. On the map, I struggle to get your point with regards to the closure of the court in 5 years. Are you saying 2 judges, because it now has 10, will have to be moved because of that new map of the Senator Commission? Or you are saying the whole court will have to close in 5 years if with the new Senator map? I could not get that clear.
The prediction is that if the seat moves and the areas are changed so that Grahamstown only has the rural areas, there are no cities in the proposed new map.
No, I get that.
Yes. Then you'll have a court which will only keep 2 judges busy. And whether the Department of Justice then keeps a court with 2 judges after 5 years is the issue.
Good morning to everyone here. Thank you again, Honourable Minister, for taking the time to come to Makhanda. And I think it's not only a testament, I guess, to your commitment to responding to these needs, but really critical in order to protect the integrity of the process that the people of the city have started. Honourable Minister, you started off when you opened your address by talking about the coherence and consistency in the inputs that received from different stakeholders when they made submissions. I do not think that is accidental. I think that consistency and coherence is a result of a profound understanding of the consequences of the proposed move of the seat of the High Court. And believe me, sir, there is belief and support and understanding that this is a national process that is taking place. It is not premised entirely on Makhanda. However, that there is such recognition of the ramification of this move speaks volumes as to one level, what it means for the people of Makhanda. And on the second level, that once again there's a battle that has been fought a number of times in the past 2 or 3 decades, and yet must be fought again. I won't contemplate much of the substantive reasons around the legal matters. I think the Vice Chancellor has covered them appropriately, and I believe the High Court Action Committee has done so, both in your previous caucus and in the time outside of this session. But I do want to talk a bit on the matter of the community relevance and importance, particularly for a city of Makhanda that's built on old institutions. Prior to me coming up here, I was advised to share with you that when you opened it, you made reference to the potential confusion between GBS Bank and BBS Bank. It's worthwhile delineating them on the basis of the age of institutions. The GBS Bank is more than 140 years old. I can't say much of GBS itself, but I can say the fact that GBS is very much an institution that is built into the fiber of the city of Makhanda. Much like the understanding is of the High Court here, this is a city that's built on the legacies of its institutions and the power of its people. We exist from coexistence of various economic sectors that will continue to strive in the face of, in spite of, and against consistent difficulty. So a proposed move that seeks to potentially strip, and over a period of time, as Mr. Brody highlighted, start to etch away at the economic fiber and the structure of the city has more than just a legal or procedural process and impact. It has a process of impacting a community as a whole, and that is something that can't be taken away. Honourable Minister, the community of Makhanda has continued over the past years, if not decades, to fight to protect, nurture and support its walls and borders. The variety of stakeholders gathered in the room about a picture of the amount of people who are doing visible and invisible work to keep the city alive. This is something that's profoundly important because it can't be seen in other parts of the country. Yet it exists so much here, not only because the city needs it, but because the people that are here are so special. So we ask that you give the city a chance, and I'm sure my esteemed colleagues in the room will also echo the same sentiments, to continue to support and maintain what is important. We're in full support of what's been proposed by the High Court Action Committee. And from a community perspective, the core aim is really just to re-emphasize the part that the seat remains so that the city can thrive and grow as it needs and must. In closing, I have just one or two quick procedural questions for you, Honourable Minister. Perhaps you can address them when you attend to the Q&A. The first is that we understand that there's a commission that's preparing the interim report and is synthesizing all the inputs that came through. And you have come of your own accord, which is deeply appreciated. There was a public assent that seemed to suggest that the final report of the committee will be out in October. You opened by suggesting that it will be September, August that you receive a copy. So just from a simple procedural basis, what will be the process of reconciling the inputs you received today from the various conversations that will be had and whatever the commission provides as a final report? And is there a version where we can see the substantive comments that will be made echoed in the final recommendation and the decisions that are taken? Thank you very much.
Minister,
Thank you very much.
Justice is not only about the geographical location where you may live in the province. It's also about the efficiency and the services provided by the High Court, which in Makhanda runs really, really well. There was a report which is in my submission that talks to this. Minister, I don't want to repeat what everyone else has said, and I'm going to read one short paragraph from a previous report that emanated out of the Hoekstra Commission. Those are the findings in 1998. He said, Grahamstown is an economically depressed city in which unemployment is rife. We find that the ripple effect of moving the seat of the High Court from Grahamstown would prove crippling to the city. We further find that to close the High Court in Grahamstown would completely, in socio-economic terms, be nothing short of catastrophic for a large segment of the city's community. It should be pointed out, moreover, that in either situation, the brunt would be borne by the socially and economically most disadvantaged section of the community. Regrettably, Minister, the economic situation in Makhanda is far worse than it is in 1998. In the submission that we submitted, there's a report from the Emeritus Professor of Economics, Jeff Antrobus, who's here with us today, that sets out the reality and the impact. In addition, you can read the Auditor General's report, where she already questions whether Makhanda municipality is a going concern. Should the court move, the rates base will decrease and the problem will be confounded. Perhaps an example, if I take your first alma mater, the University of Venda, I think moving the seat of the High Court would be very similar to moving the University of Venda to Polokwane, as Polokwane is the provincial capital, and in its place opening up a water polo academy because you've got a large water body thereby. The economy of the city would collapse, or the town would collapse, and the same would happen here. Access to justice would not be gained out of the move. It would be hindered. I thank you for your time and look forward to welcoming you in warmer weather for that good news.
I'm speaking here on behalf of the stormtroopers, the downtrodden, peasants of the city, abahlali baseMakhanda. Ndithetha ezusimabuhle uXolani igama, convener we-district apha eMakhanda kwiSangho. Our submission, we are saying as citizens of the town, in support of the submission presented by our local municipality and different stakeholders, hands off our city, hands off our High Court. This is our heritage. This is the legacy of the people. Minister, you mentioned one thing that your engagement is a first of its kind. Thank you so much. But you are not doing us a favor. It's an obligation placed upon you to fulfill the constitutional mandate in terms of accounting to the citizens of the town. As the South African National Civic Organization was saying, we understand very well, we've done our research in terms of understanding the rotation of the High Court and the issue of the city, of the president to the province. We're not talking about the High Court, we're talking about what we are talking, the city. Then we are requesting to your colleagues, leave our city to Makhanda. For the sake of those poor communities, for the sake of those people that are voting for our town, for the sake of those people that are doing domestic work in the city of our own. Once in a lifetime, the Makhanda citizens, you can see, we're united and diverse. We are united only with one reason of saying that we remain and we humbly request for you to retain the city in Makhanda. Lastly, we'll make sure that we wait the final report and we'll continue engaging. You requested us to do this with respect, but nonetheless, we are saying, Makhanda as it is a city of hope for these poor communities. We request to your office, Minister, that whatever engagement you be there and make an influence and say, I've managed to interact with the communities of Makhanda and the stakeholders. Those people, they feel that the High Court is their heritage. Thank you so much.
By the way, my take of that phenomenon, as say, by speaking English fluently doesn't mean that you are clever. I would start by saying there was a prophet who went to King David and said to King David, could you please give me an advice? For there was a man who had only one sheep and another man who has a multitude of sheep. And then the man who had a multitude of sheep took that one sheep of that man who had only one sheep. And that man left out with no sheep at all. And he asked for an advice to King David to say, what is it that should happen to that man? And King David said, that man should be killed. Why am I raising this? Why do you take our High Court or city of High Court to the riches? Why do you have to enrich the already riches? Because when we talk about the economy of Eastern Cape, we talk about Bishop. When we talk about government, where government is the rand, government is the rand in Bishop. Everything is about Bishop. If you talk about even any tenders, any decision makers, that is already happening in Makhanda, we can talk in other provinces, every decisions are being taken into Bishop. Provincial governments, everything is in Bishop. If you take the only ship that we have, or that we have already told ourselves we are going to have, and you are taking that into Bishop. Because I'm going to tell you now, this is a one-man-made decision. One man woke up one day and said, I've got this framework. Without narrowing, this is narrow. Because we're going to talk only about the geographic framework without talking about the economic impact. What is it that is going to do? to impact our economy in Makhanda. Because as we speak right now, Makhanda is facing quite a very high crime rate because of unemployment. But out of that unemployment, if you took that office or that city to be sure, the impact of the economy, the impact of unemployment, that impact that is going to affect us tremendously. You know, so basically, in a nutshell, we are simply saying, please hands off our city. Please hands off our city. For even the message that we're giving, even to the retired judge, Judge Moseneke, it is quite very difficult sometimes to make some decisions without even make some footprints to Makhanda. We even ask him, he must come to Makhanda and face the community of Makhanda, whereby we're going to come to him and ask him the questions that are quite even relevant. By taking this city and taking it to another town, they impact the rationale, because there's no way you can make those kind of decisions while you are sitting in office and you're just getting the substances from everybody without even knowing that city, without even knowing the impact that is going to affect that city. No, hands off our Makhanda. I thank you.
Together. And we would like to be given space to do exactly that. Our economy has been so much impacted by a whole lot of things. Even the COVID itself and all that came with it. So our vision then is to rebuild a Makhanda, which is a city of choice in terms of employment opportunities and strategic location for knowledge workers and the service industry. The aforesaid vision will be unrealized and remain an unachievable utopia if a critical limb of our city, like the main seat of the High Court, can be amputated and relocated. A relocation without considering our socio-economic, the socio-economic plight of the people of Makhanda will conjure up images of the state that has softly decided to plunge the people of Makhanda into a deep hole of poverty and stripping of the dignity of its few residents that are already employed. We also feel that we must be introduced, and I'm glad that this has happened, to those that are opposing us when we say the main seat of the High Court must remain. I must quickly move and deal with a letter that we received from one of the members of the Makhanda Civil Community Coalition, the MCCC, none other than the retired Justice Lexham Party. And after we have engaged, we had engaged with him, and he wrote to us, and he said, look, he has been made to understand that the recommendations of the Hoekstra Commission around 2 decades ago, that the Grahamstown High Court should remain in Grahamstown and not move to Bishop, that is the main seat, is now being undermined. Following recommendations of another committee or commission that was apparently chaired by a former Deputy Chief Justice Commission, that was Chief Justice Elikhang Moseneke, it appears that it did its work during 2009. And now we are faced again with this situation. He said, I must confess, I fail to understand the basis, if any, of revisiting the subject when the Hoekstra Commission had done such extensive work and consultation. Various interested groups and community organizations had, working together, vehemently opposed the proposed move and placed their submissions and evidence before the Commission, together with statistics relating to how many will be affected by this move. And he said, now the same would obtain in respect of the High Court staff, that all these families that have been mentioned in the statistics that have been given here all point to one thing, that the move of the main seat to Bishop will impact on the community of Makhanda. They would have to face situations where people that are working for the court have to move to wherever the court will go. Says, I have noted that the question of accommodation and the court building at Makhanda and Bishop has been raised. Again, as I understand it, there are only 2 or 3 courts in the Bishop High Court building, while approximately 5 courtrooms are readily available in Makhanda. There are 3-4 court judges, judge chambers in the Bishop High Court building, while the Grahamstown High Court, move to the next page, court building can house 7 or 8 judges and more as we speak. The argument in favor of the proposed move is that the state can save the money it spends in respect of services rendered to it by counsel from outside the area of jurisdiction of the Bishop High Court, which savings could then be used to pay for building costs, to add to or extend that court building, to improve its capacity, to hear matters that would otherwise be heard in Makhanda. This is a flimsy argument that does not warrant further discussion. It does not tell us anything about the time it will take to effect the proposed renovations and the cost thereof. All this evidence will have been summarized succinctly in the Hoopster Commission report, and the names of the organizations that participated in the process must be contained in the report. As I summarize it, therefore, Minister, it is very important that we don't take it for granted that you've come and you've heard. I would really like to emphasize the importance of gathering all the information that has been shared in this gathering and make sure that it finds expression in the report of the DCJ's committee, the Cost Rationalization Committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr.
Good morning, Honourable Minister. Ladies and gentlemen, I was very pleased to hear Bishop Ebenezer thank the Minister for coming to listen to our cries and our voices. My name is Athol Trollope. I represent Action SA. We have a constituency in Makhanda, and the district municipality of Salopatna. Minister, I'm going to read my submission so that I don't waste your time. Decentralization and the separation of legislative, judicial and executive seats is an important principle. It also has specific benefits to the various hosting provinces, cities and communities by spreading the administrative and economic impact that these institutions have. For example, the City of Cape Town houses Parliament, Pretoria the Executive, and Bloemfontein the Judiciary. This is also incidentally an international best practice. Specifically, Minister, Makhanda in the Makhanda municipality is currently the provincial seat of the High Court. The idea of moving it has already been mooted and successfully and vehemently opposed. Nothing has changed. We support the Makhanda High Court action campaign that opposes the relocation of the High Court from Makhanda. In fact, now more than ever before, we oppose the proposal. This town should be the jewel of the province, the Stellenbosch of the Eastern Cape. It is sadly not. It has been maladministered, been under administration, and its sustainability is already under scrutiny by the Auditor General. This city and municipality are, for all intents and purposes, already reeling under maladministration and economic decline, and cannot take any more unnecessary challenges. Makhanda municipality and the city of Makhanda is the home of the iconic Rhodes University, iconic private and public schools, significant historic and religious and heritage institutions, and is steeped in some of the country's and certainly this province's most important history, which should be a major tourist heritage and historical attraction, which it isn't because of the state of decay of the city and this municipality. Now the government and your department want to terminate the well-being of this ailing city and all of its surrounding communities. Nifuna ukubulala ubomi balengcebetha iMakhanda neMakhanda. Look at what this hall looks like. It's a sad reflection of the sorry state of this municipality. The proposed relocation will compound this. The High Court, everything and everyone that represented is the life support system of the city. It cannot wittingly be unplugged by any caring government. The justification for the relocation of this provincial seat of the High Court is tantamount to treating the symptom of the judicial rationalization malaise that you spoke about, not the cause. Unemployment is one of the city's greatest challenges. As it is in this province, the desperate search for employment is dislocating families and communities already and results in people living in unimaginable circumstances in the twilight zones of informal settlements. And this planned relocation will certainly exacerbate this misery. You want to move this institution that has been here for more than 150 years. We as a community celebrated that significant milestone. We marched from the High Court down the High Street to the cathedral to celebrate that milestone. Now, you want to take that to the provincial capital, Bishop. You want to rob Peter to pay Paul and concentrate all of this in one place at the collective prejudice of the city, municipality and community. We as Action SA, our constituency and the people of this area reject roundly and soundly this repeated offensive against this floundering city, and we wish to advise that this endeavour to sign this city's death warrant will be opposed in every way possible, starting by registering our opposition in this public hearing. And I pray that the mayors of Makhanda and Sarah Bartman, who are present here today, continue to represent the wishes of the people of this city and this region, and make sure that this madness comes to an end finally. Thank you.
Speaker, as Program Director, good afternoon, Minister, and good afternoon to you, Mayor, West District, Mayor Walabekaya, and good afternoon. You're such a good audience. On a matter that is touching the nerve center of our lives in this city, Makhanda. Allow me just to preface this program director. I'm not going to belong. It's one thing basically coming up. And I must say up front that my mandate may not look represented in my appearance. I'm representing the Communist Party, COSATU, ANC alliance. But I want to preface this by saying we should reflect back where we come from. And also take into account the historical developments before 1994. And I want to confine myself to this problem, that Eastern Cape has been a microcosm of the resistance. And if one gives account of the wars of resistance that were fought in the province, it will tell you that we, in this province, or the province has been a womb of what we are benefiting as the fruits of the freedom today. And there is no doubt that as we reap the fruits and the benefits associated with the 1994 program, there are remnants of the old that are with us. And that tells you that the struggle continues. And the reality is that in a country where issues of poverty, underdevelopment, and growing unemployment continue to persist, we've got to find a way that begins to be much more radical in addressing those. Otherwise, outside these confines of this city hall, the masses do not have the patience and an understanding that is getting created here. To them, their understanding is different from us. And I'm standing here to say the presentations made by the Action Committee and the leadership provided by this municipal to resist or to continue with the resistance of moving the seat of the High Court is fully backed by what I represent here. Particular has made it clear to say Makhanda is not a stranger to resist any attempt to dislocate or shake it. Some of us would recall that there were attempts long before to remove Ifingo village to Eklenmo as part of consolidating within the context removals at a time. And it was resisted. And this brings me to what the mayor said earlier on in defining the character of Makhanda. That a city is defined by, amongst others, the character And in Makhanda, you have it all. But then if you take one out of it, you are tampering, of course, with that. I'm not saying something different to say, here, ours is to appreciate first that minister. We know it that in South Africa today, in fact, that is captured in our constitution, that in public participation is at the center of driving any policy imperative. Akukho movement that takes place, whether Mumteto or any other thing, that has a stand in Akhange, Ubekati, Utatwe. And I think this audience tells you, and now definitely you understand it very well. You from the ranks who understand this thing anyway. But let me quickly say one thing. That what we see is that class issues are at play. There are class undertones in all of us. Maybe they may not be visible, but from the perspective of the party, COSATU, this state is a contested terrain. And the forces at play would be the bourgeoisie, leanings, or the leanings toward the people, that is the masses. And the reality tells me that the dominant class here is the bourgeoisie. And the interest, despite that it may be coiled under the pursuit of justice to all, even to the far-flung areas. But the reality is you have class issues that are there. And I must say that we appreciate Minister, and I wish that you take this in the spirit of saying, abantu bafuna ithemba. When you come back, leave us a hope to say what we have expressed has to be taken into account. Siyafuna sithi ihlale hope across the length and breadth of Makhanda. Iseat ye-High Court iyakuba ivume ngasemva ledolobha. Ayikho enye indlela other than to say, please heed our call and ensure that the African National Congress that has always been on the side of the masses would of course have much more understanding in dealing with this matter. Thank you very much.
There's not even a single person who have shown an interest of opposing our position.
Never.
here, which make easy for the pleaders to not even repeat other things as if there's someone who's opposing the position. The position is very clear. Keep the seat here. It's very clear.
My friend who was here talked earlier said he doesn't know whether somebody just woke up one morning and got the idea to go. Now I know of such a person. That was Dr. Reverend French, who came up with the idea of Pakistans. And Sister, was a republic then, with the issue as its capital city. What I want to say is, I fully concur with, what everybody is saying. I just want to throw a little slant. If it is about rationalization, then to my mind, one should do a comparative study between, bringing the legislature to Makhanda rather than taking, the court to Bishop, and then we compare, which will hurt the people the most. Because, when I joined my political home, we talked about a better life for all. We also spoke about justice for all. And in this process, we will be able to see that there will be some injustice. Our own president, the other day, talked about unemployment. Now I must, fight my own company to stop them from taking work away from our people when we want to create jobs on the other side. Thank you.
It's nice for you to visit our town. My name is Makhanda. I am the spokesperson of the Young Communist League in this district. Minister, as young people, Grahamstown is drowning in unemployment. Young people have resorted to substance abuse. And I'm going to sound like a broken record because most of the things, and I'm sure most of the things you're going to hear, will be very similar. And especially that you came and you said, the High Court will remain, but it will be the seat that will be taken. If that will still have an impact in terms of employment, in terms of unemployment, in terms of the social issues in our town, then what you said is not as light as you put it. Unemployment is a real thing in this town. Young people are roaming the streets hopelessly. And if that is going to impact on unemployment as well, then as a representative of young people, that should concern us. And trust me, we are very concerned. And when we heard that in likely 5 years' time, even that court that you said will remain when the seat is left will likely close, it will not do any justice for us as young people of Makhanda. And we are looking for jobs. A lot of young people who are here, they don't even work in the High Court, but they are hopeful that things will eventually change. The economy of this town cannot afford to lose anything. Even that one seat you spoke about, it cannot afford it. If it was up to us, if it was up to the people here, instead of taking away that one seat, we would say bring 2 more seats in Makhanda. That's how dire, that's how bad things are. And like I said, I don't want to sound like a broken record because we did make these submissions. You've heard what I'm saying now, and you will likely still hear it. And the message is clear, Minister. If that seat is taken away, in one of our submissions we said you will be subjecting our town to day 0 with no prospects of rain, and we do not mean that. For justice to prevail, this will be a massive injustice for us. Thank you.
My name is Ashley Person, Program Director. I have to request, unfortunately, 10 minutes to make a presentation on the basis that the views that I have are different from the views that have been presented here. A lot of the people, all the views basically say that the court should remain. I'm an outlier. I say the seat of the court should move, and I'm giving the solution how that's happened without affecting the economy.
Hello, sorry, let me protect you. Guys, remember this is a meeting. There's no way when one is speaking, we also talk. Let's allow me to make this presentation. Actually, I will give you 5 minutes, not 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you, Program Director. Thank you, Mr. Minister. As I said, my name is Ashley. My service is a son. I'm an attorney here locally. I've been an attorney for 25 years. I'm a member of ELA, and I was the chairperson of one of the local attorney associations. I know the situation in Makhanda. I'm in favor of the removal of the seat of the High Court to be sure. But I'm not in favor of doing it in such a way that it's going to devastate the economy of Makhanda. And for that reason, I have a solution of how those two apparently opposing views can be reconciled. The basis for my opposition to the retention of the seat in Makhanda is the following. Number 1, the profession in our town is divided. It is divided on the basis of race. We have no unified structure. Our white colleagues are boycotting to have a single structure with us. They are dealing with us contentiously. They are acting in a manner which amounts to discrimination on the basis of race. And I can say, whilst all of the people are here saying, you know, they want access to justice and they don't want the High Court to move, unfortunately they don't know the situation as I do. And a lot of the members on the Action Committee are familiar because we fought against our colleagues to ensure that we get the Cape Law Society to come to us and to force our white colleagues to have a single organization with us. The first moment that they decided to boycott the creation of a unified structure after the LSA came into being. So what I'm saying is that we cannot have the seat of the High Court governed by people who do not believe in democracy and who do not believe that we as black practitioners are their equal. It can never happen. If they don't believe that we are their equals, then the seat must move to a place, Bishop, where people do believe that we are their equal. Minister, I'm saying to you, you do not have the option, as some are suggesting, of moving the High Court. You have the obligation to move the seat of the High Court. And it's not only one obligation, it is 3 obligations, Minister. In terms of the Constitution, the state judges from our colleagues who have been appointed, who made themselves guilty of either discrimination or an act of white supremacy. I will provide you with my documents. The solution, Minister, is quite simple.
If you do have a written presentation, you are welcome to bring it forward. And what is necessary, the tolerance, please. Let us be tolerant. What is important here is for us to make substantive presentations. That's very important. So if we are going to harm each other and so on, he has the right to oppose. And we must allow that right. So let us be tolerant around that. So my brother was saying,
thank you, Director. I will give you the minister.
Thank you very much.
I've never seen care the unity that Makhanda is showing today across class divide, across racial divide today. And any other act we have trying to rise against that, I think might be dealt with
belongs to the city. I'm from Cape Town. 23 years ago I came to Makhanda. And I am a resident of Makhanda. I've seen things happen, and I'm still seeing things happen. But I am appalled at the way that the hierarchy is trying to move the High Court, or the seat of the High Court, to Bishop. If I should look on this pamphlet, I agree with everything that is on this pamphlet. I hope you've got one, sir. The last part is, and I'm speaking for the over 60s of this Makhanda. If you look at this movies, the only persons moving South Africa forward. Now we are moving Makhanda forward, the older persons. So we don't get the older persons forward. Just think what it will do to the poverty that our older people are living. Just think what it's going to do. If you have a heart, we ask you sincerely and we pray, as I've been praying at 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock every Sunday morning, that this debate will happen, that you come and visit Makhanda. And I know my God is able to do more than we can think, or utter, or even
here in Grahamstown, an experience of more than 15 years post-admission. I am overwhelmed by the submissions that are being made by the speakers that have spoken, the community members who have at their heart the soul of this beautiful city. It is a well-documented fact that in South Africa we are a diverse community. You've got black, you've got white, you've got green, you've got black. Views will always differ. I may not like you speaker, someone else may like you. I speak as an individual. I am not representing anyone in this particular view. Through my years, since I did my articles and got admitted as an attorney, I am not originally from Grahamstown. I was born in Fort Beaufort. I currently live in Port Elizabeth. But this city has offered me more than these two towns can offer me and my family. The colleagues that I work with on a daily basis have respected me. I want us to distinguish between one having personal vendettas and face what is more important, especially what is the issue that we want to convey to the minister. I could have come to the minister and said, one day, a white man that I work with, we were dealing with the case and he made negative gestures towards me, and as a result, I want to send you move. Unfortunately, as a member of this community, someone who contributes towards the economy of this town, the views that have been shared by all of the speakers as to why the minister, when that report finally is tabled before him, should take into consideration these submissions that are made to see how the community feels about this situation.
Points because I only got 2 minutes. The first one is, why is there even a high court in Bisho at all? We're trying to undo the legacy of apartheid here. What is Bisho? It was a Barterstown capital. It was created to trash our people's rights. And a couple more aspects to access to justice. It's not just how many people live within a huge geographic radius of a place, how many people live close to it. Bisho is quite close to East London. East London does not have a full branch of the High Court. Many more people would live close to a branch of the High Court in East London. The second one is access to justice is not just about the geographic distance. It's about access to legal resources. If you have a High Court close to a major university with a strong law faculty, you have automatically got strong legal resources there. The law school will have a law clinic. In town here we have other legal resources like the LRC. If you put the seat of the High Court in a place that does not have those resources, it doesn't matter how many people live close to it, because access to the High Court does not mean knocking on the door. It means going in with a legal team. The other aspect is shifting the economic impact of the court to Bisho. It's not a matter of simply saying, oh, we lose the jobs here, you gain them in Bisho. There's a big difference between a city which is more or less at the epicenter of the economic hub of the Eastern Cape. We are roughly equidistant between East London and PE. So services that arise in relation to the High Court here that are incidental to the court could also serve both of those two major cities. Move the seat to Bisho, And any services that arise incidental to the court are probably also already available in East London. They're not going to make a big difference. So the jobs you take away from here are not going to equally add to the jobs in Bishop. And the final thing I just want to add quickly is this is a place with a lot of history. It's named after one of the major anti-colonialism heroes. It's been a site of struggle, as other people have mentioned before. Some of that has been negative, some of it has been positive. You can't take away from the city the fact that it has a major history of the struggle for justice going back to the colonial era. Whereas Bishop, it's a Bantustan capital. What is it?
Manmulisi Mwe, Comrade Minister, and the protocol observed. Comrade Minister, the people have spoken. The voice of the people has to prevail, and that the people shall govern. We fought for those things that are enshrined in all the documents of your movement that deployed you as a minister. We fought for all that are enshrined in the Constitution. In particular, the establishment of the democratic state and the society and its society. We missed, Comrade President, comrades within the movement that will say the people have spoken. And then they will go and implement what the people have said. We missed that. But you have seen yourself, you have observed, Comrade President, what the people of this city, non-racial as they are, diverse as they are, as we said after 1994 that, let's build this rainbow nation. All of us together as Africans. These are the people, Comrade Minister. These are your people. These are your people. They have spoken. They said, retain this seat in this town.
But just briefly, thank you for coming to Makhanda, Minister. How we wish you should have started before the processes. How we wish you to start with the people of Makhanda. Because, Minister, nothing about us without us. More than 150 years is definitely about us. And nothing about us without us. But I don't want to say that I only 2 minutes and obedience is better than sacrifice. I just wanted to say that
Continue speaking.
Okay, let me continue.
Remember, the minister is having a delegation here. Okay. So continue speaking. The delegation is sitting next to me.
Okay.
It's here in front.
Thank you, Speaker. I just want to conclude by saying this is not a manipulative statement. Yeah. It's just a plea to the minister and all his delegation. I've heard the people speak today, and we believe in the fact that don't let the cry of the hopeless fall on deaf ears. Please, Minister.
Thank you.
My name is I'm from the faculty, and together with my colleagues, students with years, and we hope that maybe our contribution will also be of some value. I've got 2 things to say. The first thing that I would like to say is to echo what Sir said earlier, that as The position is, just one more sentence, the position is that we would like to rationalize and access to justice. But moving the seat does not actually deal with that interest. The interest is access to justice, and access to justice is happening right now as it is. I am sure that we can find alternative ways to fulfill that interest without necessarily using this particular position. Thank you.
National Arts Festival is something that happens in the city, and we're a relatively small thing. But fundamentally, we're about small towns, and fundamentally, we are also about the investment environment of the town. And heavy is the head that wears the crown, Minister, because unfortunately the decision is not just one about justice. It affects all elements of society, one way or another, economically, socially, culturally, and of course very critically, infrastructurally as well. So one of the critical considerations that we would ask to be taken into account is not just how the decision impacts on the justice system, and I think Professor Andrews' study talks to the broader economic and social and cultural aspects as well, but also what it does to the investment climate. Because whatever is housed in the document is not the message that's going to be understood. And we're already fighting a range of different battles. So the request to the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development is to double down on Makhanda, to double down on the work that we're doing together to make the city work and to make small towns viable. Thank you so much.
Protocols observed. May I make points which actually deal with how we came to be here, and that deals with the interim report of the Mosaic Commission. In the first instance, I would suggest that calling for an interim report is ill-advised, because decisions and recommendations are being made without hearing the parties. And so we now find ourselves in a situation like the Queen in Alice in Wonderland saying, sentence first, verdict later. We're having to react to recommendations which do not take into account the public voice. Secondly, scrutiny of the terms of reference of the Commission reveals that there was no call for a consideration of the moving of the seat of the court. It's simply not there. Accordingly, these interim recommendations have exceeded the mandate of the Commission, and we would ask the Minister to point that out to the Commission so that it restricts itself to its mandate when it produces the final report. Thirdly, the motivation and the sole motivation in the report for the removal of the seat of the court from Makhanda to Bishop is that in every other province, the seat of the court is in the provincial capital. Well, that's no recommendation at all, and that's no motivation at all. And of course, if you believe in the separation of powers, there's every reason why the seat of the court and the seat of government should not be in the same place. But it's worse, because it's actually incorrect. Johannesburg is the capital of Gauteng. The primary seat of the court in that province is in Pretoria. So it's a recommendation based on factual wrong. There are any number of other factual inaccuracies in the report, and we would urge the Minister, when the recommendations are finally made in the final report, that there be very close scrutiny of the facts advanced by this Commission, because its interim report is fraught with mistake.
Then I just wanted to clarify that the points that were made were not actually addressing the essence. You can't punish the community of Makhanda. You can't use such an important matter to settle scores because you feel that you have not been treated well in the profession. And I think we have to be very careful about that.
I stand up as the life president of the Eastern Cape Provincial Council of Churches and South African Council of Churches, and also part of the Action Committee. I'll be as if I'm repeating myself, but as churches we minister in homes and in churches. When you get in homes, in Josa, or even in this town, you can see the level of poverty. You meet those who are unemployed, depending on the old mama or grandmother or grandfather who gets grant with a house that has got about 10 people, sometimes 15. I want the Honorable Minister to take our congratulations to the State President by bringing that 350 grant to those who are unemployed. Is helping that grandfather and grandmother who is actually feeding the whole house. We are ministering in schools, in universities. We understand, I've been here 3 years at Rhodes University when I was studying, and 15 years as a bishop in this city, and all over the area of East London, up to Bedford and Fort Beaufort and Adelaide, Alice Kaiskama Christian. The situation of Makhanda is depressing. That's why in my opening remarks in the prayers, I said, the Lord has heard our cry. And now, Minister, you came to listen to us. And I think you can assess all of us say no to the move the relocation of the seat and the court itself. So we pray that you become our ambassador. We anoint you right now in the power of the Holy Spirit. Because I said the Lord has heard our cry. When the National Arts Festival, there were rumors for it to be removed. We said no. And then when the High Court was being, some kind of moving it, we said no. And we are still saying no. And we pray that our voice could be heard. Lastly, I think your coming is what is our brand as the Republic of South Africa to go and sit down and negotiate, as our president led the leadership of Africa to go and sit down with Ukraine and Russia to try and bring an understanding and the ending of the war. Please, Minister, as our ambassador, end the war between government and Makhanda. And speak on our behalf that we will continue to say no in the Lord's name for those people, poor people in the homes. And again, added by the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic virus, which many people have lost their lives, and other families are child-led because the parents are gone. This is what is the church practicing. So with that, we wish you a safe travel when you leave, and you arrive at home safely. Ngesixhosa ibeleke ikwemba lizokulwana kaLamola kodwa ngomthandazo langentsikelelo. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, and also the Mayor of the local municipality for having persuaded and invited us to come here, because she, for almost the past 2-3 months, raising this matter with me and expressing the views of the community of Makhanda and why they are opposing this matter. And also all the inputs that we have received, that also convinced us that there could be a need of a meeting of this nature. And I think that is where I started, when I broke the ice of the discussion. So we do not see coming here as a favor to you. The reason that made us to come here is because the mayor insisted, based on the views that came from the community, and also on the basis of the submissions that were made to the interim report and the committee chaired by the former Chief Justice. So that is what persuaded us to come here. And when I said that it's the first of its kind, it's because even those submissions were uniquely to the area, what we are dealing with. So that is the reason we came here. And the rationalization process, it's a necessary irritation that must happen. When I started, I said that I'm just trying to find the relevant clause of the Constitution, that in terms of the Constitution, is that it requires that the courts must be rationalized to create a judiciary that is situated to the requirement of the Constitution. Rationalization is described to include the structure, the composition, the functioning, the jurisdictions of the courts, and it further describes what is in terms of Item 4 and Schedule 6 of the Constitution, which provides that as soon as is practically possible, after the new Constitution took into effect, all courts, including their structure, composition, functioning, jurisdiction, and all relevant legislation must be rationalized with a view to establishing a judicial system suited to the requirements of the new Constitution. So this is the basis on which we appointed the former Chief Justice Mseneke to help us with the recommendations, so that the process is well thought of, is thought through, and that's why you will have seen, even in the terms of reference, he is allowed to receive submissions, which he has received from across the country, relating to various jurisdictions, what are the issues, how we need to deal with, even with the judicial composition. For example, there are 2 provincial divisions that, as we speak now, they don't have enough judges to deal with their matter. The new divisions that were established post-1994. The provincial division in Limpopo, I think they've got about 9 or 6 judges. Mpumalanga also follow within that category. So when you look at the number of judges here in the Eastern Cape, I think it's about 36. When you go to Gauteng, because of the population, it's about 80 something. But it is still not enough. So circumstances and conditions have changed. We need the rationalization to tell us the composition population of the judges in the Eastern Cape, are they enough in proportion to the population? Dealing with the issues of the litigation that is coming through in this province. So, I take exception that such can be described as madness. With all due respect, Mr. Trolley, it's not madness, it's the constitution that says the democratic government, upon realizing this, you must take steps to rationalize the courts. And that is what we're doing. And I said, when I broke the ice, we started with the magistrates' courts. It's just that it did not elicit the same level here, even in Makhanda. But if you can go to the Makhanda magistrate court here, it is now aligned with the jurisdiction of the local municipality. But in the past, there could be other people who were inside the Makhanda area, but who were supposed maybe to go to Port Elizabeth or to another closer magistrate court. But now they are supposed to come here to the magistrate court inside Makhanda. That was the first phase. We have now completed it. It is gazetted. It's in the department. It's work that we are doing. So, the point I'm raising is that I can hear all of you are saying no to this movement of the seat. And I'm happy that we're now at Aden. We understand each other that we're dealing with the main seat. The court will remain here. And there is an argument that, we want to move it by phases. No. We are dealing with the recommendation of the interim committee. So if the interim committee is of the view that in Makhanda there is not enough population for us to house the court, there is not enough litigation, the interim committee would have said so. They would have said, close the city in Makhanda and the High Court in Makhanda. That is what we'll be dealing with now, that let's close the court and these are the reasons. So there is no hidden agenda. That's why we also deliberately published the interim report. If basically we were going to say, no, don't publish the interim report. Don't give them a chance to make a presentation. We were going to surprise you with the final report and say we're moving the city to Bishop and these are the reasons. Even after you have made your submissions. But because we understand that this is an involved process, we said let's publish it, let's engage. And when we were persuaded by the municipality to come here to engage, we said let's do it. So if we agree with each other, we agree, we will consider your points. If we don't agree with you, we will still consider your points and we will tell you why we do not agree. These are the reasons why we don't agree and so forth, which is part of the democratic process. But we are happy that you have given us your views. So I'm just stating that the rationalization process is necessary and we will do it across the country, including here in the Eastern Cape. So we have got no hidden agenda. We are looking at the whole process. And with regards to this province, when we started, I said, and for me, I summarized the discussion of today. It turns on two issues. The first issue, which it turns on, is whether we must move the main seat of the Eastern Cape Division to Makhanda, to Bishop or not. That is the first one. And there are issues that have been raised why it should not move, related to access, concurrent jurisdictions. There are issues that have been raised related to why it should not move, the socio-economic impact, and the citation of the report of the Prof, whom he has stated why. So maybe you will further give us inputs, because when I look at the citation of the report of the Prof, it deals with when we close the courts. Its recommendations are premised on if the court is closed. So we'll need to get further on that point. Prof. Mabizela, I heard him also citing that report. I've gone through it, I've seen the 5,000 jobs, the law firms that will close and so forth. It's on the basis that we're going to close completely this court, which was agreed now, we're not closing completely. So that report needs to clarify that aspect. If we're not closing completely and we're only dealing with the main seat, which will affect 1 or 2 judges, what will then be the economic impact of the decision? If that is the case, will it still affect 5,000 jobs? Will it still affect 50% of the law firms in Makhanda and Holland? That is the first point, which I think it will need to be refined by the professor. He needs to help us further in that point, which I think as we move forward, we will consider all those issues. The second point, which the matter turns on, is 2 points only, and we close the discussion. The second point is whether the rationalization needs to affect the jurisdiction of the Makhanda or this High Court here. This part relates to the map that was provided here and what ourselves have said. And there are also divergent views in that regard. And this, for us, it is also a necessary process that we must embark on, because this is where it affects the people in East London who are supposed to jump Bishop and to come here. This is where it affects people in England who are supposed to take about 3.5 hours to come to Makhanda. This is where it affects people in Ugi who are supposed to take 392 kilometers to drive to Makhanda and leave a court which is closer to them, which is in Tata, leave a court which is closer to them, which is Bishop in East London. So all those things have to be considered. There must be trade-offs, even by the communities in the Eastern Cape. And I was sitting there thinking that if I was having the same discussion in East London, I suspect the people of East London will say, no, move the court quickly, so that we can get a court closer to us. And even the issue of concurrent jurisdiction. If maybe we're in Ugu, they will say, no, quickly do this thing so that we can go to Tata. So I'm raising this point to say, the issue of the rationalization of the jurisdictions, we cannot afford. We cannot avoid it. It's not avoidable. And I'm happy that you have already started to make inputs when you show us the map that you don't agree with the Musenega recommendation that it must be rationalized this way. Your view is that it must be rationalized this other way. This is the alternative that we have. So we will consider both of them and take a decision which one we believe help and enhance access to justice, which is the main mandate of the Department of Justice. And we will not really ignore the economic impact and the economic issues, because we do think that it is important that as we do it, it must also enhance and help the economic situation. But we need to emphasize that our main key driver is access to justice with the process of rationalization. And I want to thank all of you for the very cordial and concrete engagements that we have had. Robust, but very, so we can now distill and deal with the issues because of how the engagements were held, except the few which I believe, I take them as a slipper of the tongue. I don't think they wanted to say, we are really mad. It was just a slipper of the tongue, and we appreciate the inputs that they've still made, and we take them into consideration and all other views that have come through. And we also view this from the perspective of the Constitution and the South African government. And I'm glad that it is the whole community. It is not something that is politicized for a particular political agenda. It's clear to me that it is a view that is held by different stakeholders, irrespective of political affiliation, and various people, the academia, and everyone who who see this as a matter of rational importance for the community here. So we will also consider it within that same context, that there are these views that you have, and also the views that you will receive from the final report, and all the views that you will take. And then we will make the final decision, which we will communicate. I heard someone saying, when we come back, it will communicate. We may not come back. I don't want to make that commitment, because it means I must go all over the country and do the same. I mean, I must go to Toyando, I must go to Cape Town. It will be impossible. So the reason we decided to come now is because of the unique nature of the submissions that you made, and we felt that it's important that before we receive the final report and make the final decision, we must take your inputs. And that is how we will consider the inputs that have come today. When we receive the final report, we will also counter with what we have heard here, and then make the final decision. Thank you very much.
We must close with prayer. So let me call the Honorable Mayor.
Thanks. Bishop. Let me observe all the protocol. Let me thank the Bishop and the Action Committee, the VC, for the way in which they have driven this process of engaging on the matter in relation to the relocation of the seat, as we are all clear now. Let me also thank all the stakeholders who have been joining this very important session of engagement. I want to also thank the Minister. For those who may not know, a few months ago, I'm not sure whether it was in December, we had a memorial lecture convened here in Sarah Bartman to commemorate, or rather in memory of the former speaker, our mayor of the Sarah Bartman District Municipality, who had only had the opportunity to serve for a week as executive mayor of Sarah Bartman, and then passed on. And to that event we invited the Honourable Minister, who is a former youth league leader, to come and do that memorial lecture. And for Comrade Skaran Chatai, who was the former mayor. It is at that meeting where we raised the importance of this matter in relation to this recommendation with the Minister, and the fact that we pleaded with the Minister that he must come in person to come and give a hearing to the views of the people in Makhanda. And since then, the mayor has then been tasked to keep on harassing that office and harassing that office to make sure that the Minister do arrive. We would like to really thank the Minister for having taken out the time to come and listen to yourselves. I think we have achieved that first objective, Honourable Executive Mayor, to have that hearing held now here in Makhanda. But the struggle goes on, VC. The battle is not won yet, so the Minister have given some more tasks for us to perform and do it. But let me just say a few things what I have observed, and I think the Minister have observed them. Firstly, we have been saying that we want to be a listening government. And the coming here of the Minister to come and listen is in fact, in practice, what we have been all along. It's the struggle was for that too, that we want people to be listened to when they are having grievances. But what has been expressed here in this meeting is the unity of purpose of the people in Makhanda and the stakeholders here in Makhanda. And what I want to observe is that we can be united and respectful to each other. And that has been what has been shown in this engagement. I also want to use the opportunity to plead for the same unity we
which has been expressed here. In dealing with our other challenges of unemployment, inequality, poverty, and landlessness in this country. If we can exert the same type of unity here in Makhanda, in this municipality, to deal with the other challenges which we are faced in society and in this municipality, I think this municipality can get far if we can cooperate and be so united in purpose. MP Luana, if this unity can be used and nurtured to also deal with other challenges faced by the municipality in a manner as we have done here, I think we can do a lot to take the municipality to a higher stage. I want to thank all of you for your inputs, and especially for the fact that you have not politicized this debate. Now, unemployment, inequality, and poverty does not need to be politicized. And that's why I want to plead with you to use the same non-politicized unity you have expressed here to deal with the challenges confronting the majority of the people in our country and also here in Makhanda. And if that can be done, then we would achieve a lot. I think the Minister has connected Mr. Trollip because I was saying he was going off ramp. He was getting off ramp. I know there's someone in this municipality which is known to be Chawe in Kube. When he was still around, he was my deputy chairperson. He used the word, when you go off, he called it you are off ramp. So, but the minister have already bring Mr. Trolley into the main line because he was getting off ramp and we stick to the point. Now that we have come to the end of the meeting and the conclusion before the prayer, it has really been a good thing to be here. Honorable Mayor Speaker, thank you for the handling of the meeting. You drive this forward very. I do know that there was fears that it can be tough because of the sensitivity and the passion with which the community in this area has driven this thing. There was some expectations that it can become rowdy, but you have shown us that with respect and discipline and unity, this is what made this country great. This is what made us great. This is what made us always survive, even if things were tough. This is what will make us succeed. And this is what always has made us succeed in South Africa, is the unity of purpose. When we have decided and made up our mind on something and we stick together, we will achieve it, notwithstanding the challenges we face. With those few words, I would really like to thank all of us and all of you who have organized this event, and those who work behind the scenes. Thank you for arranging a very successful engagement.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Mayor. I've got a car key here. I'm told that the person left it on the ladies' room. So if anyone, I don't want to distract the car, the key itself. So anyone who lost the key, please come to me. You will get your key. As I've said, it was not on the men's toilet. It was on a female's toilet. So I know that I'm the person that I'm expecting. Thank you very much. Now we have come to the end of the program. We are going to call the Sombao, the bishop, to come and close the meeting.
To those that feel that I was not impartial or partial, to those that think that I was partial, let me apologize. Indeed, I was impartial to this meeting. And I hope that as we are going to leave, we have declared that this is the start of the struggle. We are going to continue united as we are. So thank you very much. Now I'm inviting Usumbawa to close this meeting with a prayer. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister.
Thank you for your presence, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. You have guided us in our discussions and continue to listen to the cries of the humanity. In South Africa, and especially here in Makhanda and Sarah Baltimore. We commend these discussions to you, asking you to bless all what we have discussed. Let it be to your honor and glory. And we pray for our minister as he will be going back to work at home. You bless him with safe travel message. Give him the necessary grace to interpret our pain, our suffering and devastation, and our anxiousness about what we have discussed. And also in Thanksgiving, his presence has given us hope. Bless him and his family. Bless the mayor of Makhanda and that of Sarah Baltimore as we move along, as they lead us in these various communities, in the social challenges and social ills that we are facing. Thank you for our university, for those who work in the High Court, business, and all other stakeholders, and all political parties. We pray that, Lord, you will continue to strengthen our unity in dealing with those things that are affecting us. May the God of peace who brought again from the dead our Lord Jesus Christ, the great shepherd of his sheep by the blood of the eternal covenant, may you make you perfect and do things that are pleasing to his sight, and be what God wants you to be. And fill us with the spirit of God. Ithinsikelo kaThixo ongamandla onke uyise unyana umoya ongcwele ibe phezu kwenu phakathi kwenu ihlale nani ekungeni nasekuphumeni niphumelele kuyambo zenu zonke ngoku nangona phakathi. Amen.
Leave Bishop, pass Bishop and come here to this court. So those are all issues that we are dealing with when we deal with rationalization. And there are also other communities like in Princeton that travels a long distance. So we need to rationalize it to enable access to justice for the whole province of the Eastern Cape. But the rationalization process is also for the whole country.
But we also have to consider the issues that the community is raising, impact to the economy of the area, and so forth. But we will, at the end, when we receive the final report, be able to take a decision based on the inputs that we have received today.
What are the mitigating factors that will consider in this report?
Yeah, obviously the first issue is access to justice, the demographics across the province, the issues that relates to where are the people in East London litigating, the people in Queenstown, the people in Ugi, the people in Mthatha, and all those communities in Matatiele, how they are affected by the jurisdictions of their courts. So we need to ensure that the courts are bring as closer as possible to the people, that they must be able to litigate closer to where they stay, which will enable and enhance access, which is a process that we have already completed now with the magisterial districts of the magistrate courts, where they've now been aligned with the local municipalities. So that is the second phase now that we are dealing with at the national level, to bring courts as closer as possible to the people.
What's the release date for the interim report? The release date for the interim report?
No, we have what we're discussing today is the interim report that has recommended that the main seat of the Eastern Cape should sit in Bishop, and the main seat, as we always clarify, does not mean we receive or close the courts in Makhanda. The court will remain and so forth. So that the final report will be delivered to us maybe before the end of September or October. Then we will be able to deal with that final report and to make the decision whether we need to move the main seat to Bishop or not. And that still the Bishop, the Makhanda court will remain here with whatever recommendations that are stated. It will remain like we still have the Mthatha High Court, we have the Khebecha High Court, so it will not impact the operations of the court. The only thing that we are dealing with is that has been recommended, including the issues of the rationalization of who must go to which court and how, from Mthatha, East London, and also in Matatiele. All those are part of the rationalization process.
Minister, just very lastly, on the same Judge President here, faced with allegations of sexual harassment. I just want your remarks.
Yeah, as you are aware, I'm a member of the Judicial Service Commission. The matter of the Judge President will be processed and it will be discussed there. I think it is fair and appropriate that I can only make my input and comment at that level, because if I make my input and comment here now to the public, I may no longer be eligible to have the discussion in that platform, and it can create a constitutional crisis because the Minister of Justice must always sit in that process of the Judicial Service Commission. So that is where I'm going to express my view. At this stage, I cannot comment.